Hey there, this is Dr. Pam Perry, and we are here on Get Out There, Get Known. And I am excited because this guy, I've been chasing this guy down for a while. He is like one of the busiest journalists that I know. That he's excellent. He's excellent what he does. And the main thing is that he is so good. I've known him when he first started, and he was working at the Detroit News at the time and working with one of my favorite people, but we'll get into that. But he is an award-winning journalist living in New York City, but he's going to come on and tell you a little bit about uh, what his favorite thing is right now. So I'm going to bring up our our theme music, and then right after that, we're going to bring up Madison Gray.
Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
Hey there, hey there. So there you go. Go Lions.
I had to
when
rep.
you came on with it, I was like, oh, I love you. I love you. And we have people in common too that besides Angelo Henderson, who I was talking about, miss him dearly. He was award-winning journalist as well, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, passed, I want to say maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
Has it been that long? Oh my gosh.
It's been a long time. He has not seen COVID, none of that. Trump, none of that. Okay. So yeah, that's it. So he's in a better place. He has not seen none of the disasters and things like that. But that's where we met at the Detroit News.
Yes.
And I remember that byline. I was like, who is this guy? You writing stories like every day. You write stories every day. So let's back up and really talk about your journey in journalism and how, first of all, why, Madison, did you really want to go into that? Have you always wanted to be that Clark Kent reporter?
Well, I'm gonna remove the chapeau real quick, even though I'm gonna rep one more time for the Lions.
Yes.
I'm not here in Brooklyn, but I'll always be a native Detroiter for the rest of my life.
There you go. What up, though?
What up, though? What up, though? And I tell people that out here too. What up, though? But what got me into journalism? Honestly, I was editor of my high school paper. Way back.
What high school was that?
Detroit Benedictine.
Okay, is it still around? It's gone, but
it's gone. It's gone. Out of Drive in Southfield. It was there. It shut down. Oh, I'm not sure. Quite a while ago now. My understanding is one of the high schools is no longer there. So I got into high school newspaper, to be honest, because I got kicked out of my trade class. And back in I was kind of a knucklehead back in the day, and kind of a cut up, and didn't want to act right. And my teacher decided, he had enough of me, and I got booted. And there was like only one elective classes left in that school, because you had to have so many classes. And that one class was high school newspapering, and I wound up in that. And here I am, like maybe almost 30 years later.
Oh
it happened by accident. From me clowning in school to turning it into a career. It's stories were more complex than that and everything, but that's like the nuts and bolts of it. So, but when I got into that, I started to develop a skill in the craft. Writing meant a lot to me. I'd always been into writing and into creative things. It moved from there to college. I went to Central Michigan.
They have a really good journalism school.
Exactly. Yeah. Worked on the school paper CM Life for a little while. Then a friend of mine, I started the minority newsletter there called Reach. And it was just targeted at the students of color at the school. So it went from there. After I left Central, I wound up back in Detroit. I did internships at Automotive News, a reporting internship at at Crane's Detroit business.
Yeah.
But it was I even worked for Kelvin Boston on his book Smart Money Moves for African
I
Americans.
got that book.
Yeah, I was doing some.
He had a PBS special too, along with it, or something like that.
Kelvin and I go way back. Yeah, great guy. You know. And then one day, I was at an NABJ meeting, and Angelo Henderson walks up to me. He notices this little pin that I have on my lapel. Turns out both he and I are Sigmas.
Yes, he was. Yep,
yes.
That's it.
And he said he introduced himself, talked to me a little bit, and he introduced me to his wife Felicia. And long story short, we talked some more. I wound up working for Felicia at the news. So she and Luther Keith,
and she was a feature. I think the feature managing feature. I think at the time she was a feature editor or for the Detroit section of On Detroit.
Yes, exactly. She was editor of the On Detroit section. That was before she became like AME Features. So it was she and Luther Keith who sort of brought me into the fold and everything. So
Hall of Famer Luther Keith. He is still he's still Badman Blues Luther Keith.
Exactly. So, I mean, I have to give Angelo, rest of soul, Felicia, and Luther all the credit for really sort of kickstarting things with me. I guess they kind of saw something in me they wanted to sort of bring out. And I've tried to do that myself in my career. Look at young journalists and try to bring things out in them as well, because that's important to reach back, bring people up, and have them do the same later on in their careers.
The common denominator, though, in all of that is that they were all part of the community. NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists, shout out to them. They've been around over 40 years. The reason why NABJ started, Black Journalists started, and really why I do this podcast as well, is to really highlight Black stories, Black journalists. And we're still, even though it's 40 years, it's probably less people in the field than when it first started. But it was always just trying to get more African-American stories told and in support African-American press. And then also have a lot of African-Americans in management, in upper levels, in what they call mainstream media. And so NABJ's, every year they have a convention. This year, the convention, if people want to attend, it'll be in Cleveland. I think last year we were talking, it was in Chicago, right?
It was Chicago. I did not make the Chicago convention. I wish I had, but I did not make it that year.
I know we missed that one, man. That was, woo! I don't know how I could have sat there during that particular time when that other man was on the stage just going off on my NABJ people. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But I was like, this is such a spectacle. I digress.
Well, I mean,
the thing of it is that NABJ, Luther is a part of it. Vicki Thomas, give a shout out to her as well.
Yes, Vicki, great friend, great friend.
Print journalists as well as broadcast journalists that are always a part of National Association of Black Journalists, and they do so much. They have career conferences and they do recruiting, and it's almost like a written code that if you're part of NABJ, you're going to support and help each other, and that's really, really like the main thing. So
exactly.
So that's cool. That is.
They call it your professional family reunion, and that means a lot to have people you can go to in the craft who are old friends. You meet new friends. It's really, I think, a great thing. Being part of the DC NABJ, Detroit chapter NABJ was a big deal to me too. There's an old saying in the organization: all roads lead through Detroit. And the truth is,
it is.
The truth is, there are a lot of people around the country who worked in Detroit, had an internship in Detroit, because Detroit is such a great news town that people, land.
I'm gonna name some of them. Madison, I'm gonna name some of them. So these are people that went to Cass. So we got Sean Robinson, Ed Gordon. Those are a couple of them right there. Gracie Lawson Borders. She is the dean at Howard University. Now, of course, obviously Felicia Henderson and that sort of thing. We got Vicki, we got Greg Dunmore, and then there's also PR people as well. I was a part of that as well. So we got Randy Bullock, she was a part of it. Laydell Harper, I don't know if you remember her. Margot Williams. So a lot of those people who were in media, they grow up together. They start out
Yeah.
together. They're in their career together. People move around different places, but they always remember each other. Donnie Simpson came from Detroit. The Love Bug. So yeah.
I mean, I'm doing a lot of shout outs for Detroit because I don't get to do it out here in New York.
Right.
But Detroit is out here too. We outside here too. It's a lot of people from Detroit out here in Brooklyn, in Manhattan, and everything. So we rep as tight as we can.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that is, and between the people who migrate from Detroit, they go to DC. A lot of them go to New York as well. I remember Retha Hill. She went to Wayne State with me. She ended up working, I want to think, first maybe for USA Today, and then I think she went to BET or and that kind of thing. So kind of talk a little bit about the travel that people go through. Like, no one stays at one paper other than maybe Felicia Henderson for their whole career. They move around a lot. So tell us a little bit about the places where you've been.
Wow. Okay. After I split from Detroit, I wound up because I was in Detroit for 5 years at the news. And I wound up at the New York Times because web journalism was so new at the time. So I wound up working on their website, and crazy thing is I was there on 9/11.
Whoa.
I went through the entire 9/11 thing with them, and I saw I mean, it was really something to be in media at that time, especially if you were in New York. The crazy part is I wasn't in the newsroom that morning. That was actually I believe it was a Tuesday that morning, September 11th, and I was supposed to be going into work that day. Turns out I couldn't go in that day, but I went in all the subsequent days, and we actually had to continue the website, continue the craft because people needed it, especially at that time. And it certainly changed New York if it didn't change America or the world and everything, so I got to witness a lot of things change. And I was still young. I was still I think I was still maybe about 28, 29 at the time. And to watch these things progress and and see how a city changes and what it did to people was really something that kind of molded my career. I spent a couple of years at the Times, but I kind of missed street reporting, so I wound up at the AP. And I wound up in the New York City bureau working the overnight shift. All right, so that's crazy. But my idea of fun is chasing cops all over the city in the middle of the night.
That is a gift, because most people like, you know what, I'm just gonna get a regular job. But this he said it. That was fun for him. Okay.
It was fun. Again,
he's been cut up for a while.
Would I do it now? Probably not. But back then, of course, it's like, New York, the lid was off of New York back in those days, so it was like.
I remember that about you, Madison. I do remember that about you, having that, and I can see what Angelo saw in you. You had that spark of really that roving reporter wanting to find the news, the curiousness. That was you, and it's like, I'm gonna find the real story, that kind of thing. I remember that about you, and it's like, hey, I'm not gonna take it as face value. I'm gonna go around the corner. I'm gonna figure it out. They're not telling me the truth. If your editor says, hey, find it deeper, you're like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I remember that about you on Detroit.
It was I don't know. And thank you very much for the compliments. I really, it was really touching. But it's just, I've always kind of had like this inquisitive nature, not taking no for an answer, that type of thing. It's just always been, kind of part of who I was and everything.
That is.
But I didn't even stay at the AP that long. I think I stayed like 3 years.
That's a long time, really, for a lot of people in that field. I mean, these MMJs now are just bopping around like every 15 minutes. I see a lot of them.
Right. And at that point, that was something I still had to learn to do a lot of multimedia backpacking and things like that. So after that, I wound up. This is crazy. I wound up in West Africa. So I got a chance to work at through an NGO at the station in Ghana in a village called Keta, right? Beautiful place, beautiful place.
Mm.
A place is called Jubilee Radio, and I was writing the English language report and what I could of the French language reports. And so what they wanted, for me was to teach them, American methods of reporting. So I did, how radio scripts were written, things like that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh,
And it
that
was a
sounds
really great
exciting.
experience. The thing is, here's the thing. Over there, they have different things that were important to them. For example, here a murder might be a big deal. Here in New York, they've been talking about congestion pricing because they're charging people tolls to go just to get into the city now and drive around.
Mhm.
Over there, the biggest story that I covered when I first got there was a fish harvest. Now think about it. It's rural Africa, and their economies depend on farming and fishing.
Okay.
So that one day there's like this harvest of like 5,000 tuna when things have been dry. They hadn't been bringing in things and all. So then there's this huge fish harvest, and it was like time to celebrate because now they had all this fish they could bring to market and sell to outsiders and things like that. So that sort of changed the scope. So it's things like that when you go to a foreign country that you'd be surprised what's important to them. And what drives people and things like that, and it kind of changes your perspective too. It gives you more of a global perspective as well, and really makes you appreciate things.
Was that during the time? I guess it was a period of time where being an expat was kind of not normal, but because everything's so global now with the internet and FaceTime and Zoom and Stream, was that? Did it feel as far away as it really was? Is what I'm saying.
I don't know if they were even using the term expat so much at that time because this is like maybe 2005, late in 2005 when you were there.
Yeah, no. That is something new. That now it's expat. Everybody's an expat.
Exactly.
It's like they want to go to Mexico. They're going over to Africa. They're going to Colombia. It's like because people are leaving the country. Black people are leaving the country in the pretty big numbers.
Yeah, so. Actually, I'm working on a story about that very topic. People decide.
Yes, I saw that. I sent it to someone who is actually thinking about going to Portugal.
Yes.
And
that's where I just was a few weeks ago and everything. But we can talk about it in a hot second.
Okay. Okay. Oh my God.
It's I bring back that experience of being in a foreign land and doing that kind of work at a small radio station where there's not a big budget, there's not a lot of resources, but it was a young staff. They were very creative, great writers, and it's been some time, but they've gone on to do a lot of great things. One guy, Kelly Ehor, he went on to be one of the most popular DJs in all of West Africa.
Wow. And you work with them?
Mm-hmm. He was at the station, so he, a lot of great people there,
That's an experience that you just can't. I mean, most people want to go and visit there, but you were actually there, living there, and doing the work that you love. That's just amazing. Right. And most people, when you make that decision, and I want people to understand this about people in the media, they're not. A lot of them aren't driven by money, like material things. They like experiences. They love excitement. Most of the people, if you're not really driven by that, like I know some people say, well, I majored in journalism, but when I got out of college, I wasn't going to make as much money as the people that majored in business. Well, people majoring in business were like, they want to count beans or be in accounting. People in journalism, those are competitive, quote unquote, glamour jobs, because a lot of people want it because they want to do the fun stuff, what they call, quote unquote, the fun stuff. Yeah. And so it's just different. People are just cut from different cloths. I mean, left brain, right brain. But for the most part, people who are right brain love words. They love meeting people. And you basically Madison's careers went from like Major Daily, New York Times, AP. He didn't talk about the other places where you were as well. I think it was some television stations, BET, those kind of things. So knowing and then I didn't know you were over in West Africa and Ghana. So those are places where they roll, and you're like, wow, you look back, it's like, that's really, really fun. It's like that exciting life,
I think the experience is the wealth. I mean, does everybody want to make a lot of money? Yeah, sure. But I think when we get to a certain point in our lives, we want to be able to say, I did X, Y, Z.
Yes.
I had this experience. I was here.
Yes.
I was there. I witnessed this. I was part of this
Yes.
history. Things like that. And I think what I always wanted in my career was to have the rich experiences. Because listen, I'm a kid from the corner of Dexter and Davison, back home. When I was a kid, you would always see me walking up and down Dexter Avenue. All right, that was me. All right. So to come from and I come from very circumstances. So to go from there, and I'm very proud of where I came from. Proud of my mom and dad. My they were working people. So to go from
Detroit grit.
Yeah, exactly. Detroit grit. To go from there and to see some of the things I've seen and been a part of the things I've been a part of, it took tenacity, and a lot of patience. And there are times when I was living hand to mouth, and there's been a lot of challenges, but I've always wanted that wealth, to be able to travel and see things and have these experiences, and that's worth a lot to me,
So have you ever thought at one point, like, I'm working for these major dailies and that kind of thing, and after you were in the digital part, so at some point in time, it's like, you know what, I could do this, and so you did it. StarkRavingMadison. So
well,
so at
at
a certain point in time, it's like, I'm gonna do my own, right? Like, all I gotta do is just been doing what I've been doing and just do it for myself. So I love the name StarkRavingMadison.com.
Well, that came about. I wanted to. It was inspired by a lot of great journalists. To be honest, I spent a long time at Time Magazine too, and there were a lot of great people there who did a lot of great work. And there were really great columnists there who were really creative. I spent time at other places, CBS News. I helped run Ebony's website. I wound up at BET, for a while. But BET, it came to a point where, because it's on the Paramount decided to swing the axe, and I found my head on the chopping block.
And people don't realize there's only like maybe a few media companies that are very independent. They all are swallowing each other. What I call it, they playing like Pac-Man with each other, because it's like, is everything going to be owned by like 5 things? So that people don't realize that Fox News is like, I don't never want to go on Fox News. I was like, well, they own Fox Soul. Like,
exactly. It's a shrinking landscape. And one of the things in this field is that I would say a majority of people that I've known spend some time having been laid off, having to freelance, having to be independent, things like that. So when they swung the axe on me, I took a minute to really think about things, direction, and I came across ghost.org. It's a platform that where it's like Substack and a lot of other platforms we could
I love Substack.
Yeah, exactly. What Ghost was offering journalists a platform where they could do their own blogs, specifically for journalists. So I took them up on their offer. It was too good to be true. I mean, not too good to be true, but too good to turn down. And I decided to, why not, instead of doing it sort of the corporate way, do my own thing and say the things that I wanted to say and bring out my own perspective on things. So I started slow and just started writing. One of the things that Felicia taught me a long time ago was that if you're stuck and you don't find yourself being able to move forward, just write something, get something down on paper. So that's what I did. I started putting up these posts. They were lengthy, and I'm not even sure where I was going with it, but I wanted to continue to push these up. And I had to start developing it, and it went from like maybe once every couple of weeks to now weekly, where I'm putting things out. In addition to the work that I've been doing like some political commentary for theroot.com.
Okay. And
So
the Root is also, too, people don't realize, is owned by ABC.
You said it again, the Root?
No, it's owned by
No, they're under Geo Media.
Okay. Is
They're
that the guy that used to be the Byron Lewis? Not Byron Lewis, Byron Allen?
No. You're thinking of the Griot. You're thinking of the Griot. He owns Byron owns the Grill. The Root is under Geo Media, so it's like two different media companies.
Okay. And Byron's also from Michigan as well, so I'll put that out there.
Yes, he is. So I've been, working this, trying to, work up the angles, trying to gain an audience, and I have been, getting the type of audience engagement that I've been looking for. It took months, but I've started, finally started to gain the audience engagement that I really wanted to. It's, largely because of the election season. It was really tumultuous election season. People wanted that kind of content, so I gave it to them. And now we have all types of things taking place, and we are in for some interesting times, put it like that. And I'm going to continue to write about them.
I love that. Uncensored, the way you want. Madison's Gray way. That's how it is. StarkRavingMadison. I love it because I do think you had it in you all the time. And so people can subscribe to it as well as get it, or is it a paywall? What's the deal? Okay.
Right now, subscriptions are free. Subscriptions are free. You can go in, click the subscribe button. You're able to donate if you want to. I have a donate button on most of the posts. But you can you can go in, you can subscribe for free right now. Hopefully soon, as I gain an audience, I can expand it maybe to podcasting. Taking a look at AI. A lot of the artwork is already done by AI, but I really want to add more AI components, which is what I was doing in Portugal a few weeks ago at Web Summit. AI was a big topic there, and I think it's really going to drive media in the coming years. So everybody get ready for the AI swing, because it's coming.
It is coming. It is every day that I use the tool or work on the tool, my mouth is open like, this is crazy. It does things that I had no idea, that it's moving so fast. It is. I just recently started using AI for video. Like, this is real. So we're real. We're not AI. But if we wanted to, we can actually do this whole podcast by really cloning our voices and doing it that way. And I did it the other day, and it was like I was speaking Spanish. Madison, I promise you, I was like, I looked at that thing like over and over again. I put it on TikTok. I was like, I'm speaking Spanish. All I did was put up what I wanted to say in this voice, and then it translated, and the mouth was moving right to that part. I was like, okay. If I had this 20 years ago.
I know. You know how long it learned to talk? It took for me to speak any kind of functional Spanish. And now AI comes. I don't even need to learn. Come on.
Just like that. I was like, oh my God. It is. So StarkRavingMadison is a lot of political commentary, or just really your viewpoints on a lot of things. So if you want to, do you have people that you interview, or is this more or less like a your opinion, or are there stories where you're interviewing people? Because I want to know if people could pitch you if they have a story idea, or how's that working?
Well, right now it's all analysis pieces where I really take a look at the topics of the day. My last post was just about reading a print newspaper for the first time in years. Another one was about the young man who actually shot a CEO here in New York City. So
New York, Speaking of Madison, just really quick, you said about reading a print newspaper the first time. I'm going to send you this particular issue. This is Speakers Magazine. This is what I published. But this young lady is a TikToker, influencer, 100,000 people. I think she's 26 or 27, but her whole TikTok is about reading newspapers. Like New York Times, Wall Street Times. She's actually pulling out the newspaper and reading it. And 100,000 people are like, oh my God, that's in the newspaper. And it's like in real print. And she hit. And basically that's one of the things, that she's reading the newspaper on the TikTok.
You know what? reading a newspaper, and maybe I'm saying this because I come from a print background, it is such an organic experience, that I think where people are starting to miss. I read an article fairly recently about how in Europe bookstores are making a big comeback because people just want the experience of something outside of their phone.
Yeah, they want a real book. I know. I'm like that too, but they're coming back. But if they do come back, like the robust, like the era that we remember bookstores, they need to come back with like some entertainment or food, a podcast room in there. I mean, it needs to come back with some multimedia involvement, not just like I'm walking through the bookstore, but something that is going to, because we need our senses just overstimulated, I think. So just going in the bookstore, just sitting down is like, they need to, I told someone the other day, I said they need to bring in the authors, not just do a signing, but to do other things with the authors as well. Because authors,
you may have a great business idea there.
I know. Listen, for every idea I have, I could be a millionaire. I just need to execute on some of them. Maybe I just need to do a pitch contest and just like, hey, just invest in these ideas. Okay, that's what I need to do. Just spend the rest of my career doing pitch contests and getting angel investors on my ideas. That's like the thing. That's the thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But the thing that I want to ask as we kind of wrap up a little bit is, when people come to you, and I have come to you, and they have a story for, if you're working for BET or even you're freelancers, there's a lot of journalists that are freelancers, and you have a story idea and you say, hey, Madison, I see you write for The Root, or you written for Ebony, or you written for Black Enterprise, whatever it is. I have a story idea. How should they approach you, and what are the things that you listen for in order for you to, one, respond, and then two, to say, yes, that's a good idea, I want to follow up and really assign this to a writer, or I'll write it myself? I mean, what's the process?
Well, one of the things I tell people a lot is, if you find me, say on LinkedIn or anything like that, put my name in Google me, and see the things that I've written in the past. People are easily Googleable, right? If that's a word. And
Googleicious.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see what I've written in the past, so you know what kinds of things I write about. If you say you want to pitch me, I don't know, a cookbook of recipes, that might not resonate maybe that well and everything, because I'm not a food writer, But if you want to write, want to pitch me something about, say, a court case of someone who was exonerated after 30 years. Of being falsely imprisoned, that would be right in my wheelhouse, because I've written about so many criminal justice issues, right? So it's finding out what makes me tick, and what I normally would write about, what I would pitch to someone would be, because if I'm a freelancer, I have to pitch to an editor, right? If I'm working at a place, then I still have to go to an editor and be like, all right, fine, this is a great story idea. If I am an editor at a place, I have to determine whether or not it's going to be something that's good for my readers. You understand? So
good for the readers, exactly. Not good for your book, not good for your personal brand, but not for the author, not for the person who's pitching. You said, well, I want to be on BET because it'll be good for my brand, good for my business, good for my book. It's like, they don't care about that. They want to know what's going to be good for their readers. So that part is really the main thing. What is a good story for the readers, or the viewers or watchers? And the part that I want people to understand is they have to read what that publication is about. So when you're pitching it, you got to know if it fits. And if you pitching something that doesn't fit, it's just like you'll never get answered again, because you obviously did not do any homework.
Right. And I would say, especially online publications, because if you are an online editor, what you're thinking when you get a pitch, what is the headline going to be? What is the lead going to be? Because I only have, I think, about 8 seconds before I lose somebody's attention. People online are very fickle, and it's easy to lose their attention. So think what the headline might be. Think about what is going to be in those first couple of graphs that's going to grab that attention. So what you're doing is finding a common ground between yourself, that publication, and their audience. What's going to make them all click together? And that will, you'll probably find more success that way than, say, I'm going to pitch them something that has nothing to do with what they write about.
Mm-hmm. Does it ever bother you when you were at any of the other publications, whether you were at the Detroit News or your New York Times, that someone would pitch you, say a publicist or even like a regular, subject matter expert would pitch you and then also pitch a colleague and then pitch another colleague at the same paper?
I got a lot of that. Not so much at the Times because I was a producer on the website, but in other places, for example, at BET, someone would send something to me, then send something to another colleague, and hope one of us would bite. Not knowing maybe that we're talking to each other in the first place, and I guess there's not such a problem. It's not the worst thing in the world to send your release or your pitch to more than one person. But I would say, try to create some type of relationship or some type of rapport with the people at that publication, because they know each other, they talk to each other. And I would say if you know someone and you've created a relationship with them, send things to them. Not everything is going to be something hot. Not everything is going to be sexy, but some things will. Mm-hmm. And you want to work those things that they find sexy, things that they think will work for the publication. You can let them know that you sent this to their other colleague, and you'd like to know which one of them would be better off, which department, which section, if it's style, if it's news, so on and so forth, or if it's both. When I was at Ebony, for example, culture was a big part of it, but culture, sometimes bled into news, sometimes it bled into style, sometimes it bled into entertainment. So we would all, decide which vertical was best for this particular story. And it depends on what it is. When I was at BET, that's when the R. Kelly trial was going on. So we decided, had to decide which vertical should it be in entertainment because he's a musician, should it be in news because it's such a big trial. So we had to, people make those types of decisions all the time. So if you actually reach out to somebody and ask them where would be the best place for this type of story to live, they can tell you.
That's good. I like that. So when you are pitching, whether it is broadcast or print, and you want to, the entire outlet is where you would like to see your client, I'm thinking, or you would like to be, ask whoever you're pitching or let them know that you also send it to another producer or you send it to another writer at the same place, because you would hate for them to just run into each other in the hallway and say, hey, I'm doing a story on A, B, and C. And it says, well, I got the same pitch. And it's like, well, what is this person doing? So yeah, I get that. So that is just normal. The thing that you said too is to build a relationship. Right. So Madison, I'm talking to you a little bit longer but that's because I know so much about your history and it is fascinating. StarkRavingMadison is where you are right now, but you're also doing other things as well, and you're taking speaking engagements as well, because I think you could be on the speaking circuit as well. I don't know if you're coming to Detroit. Detroit has a they have an organization of Black-owned media or something like that. BOSE, I think it's called BOSE. But anyway, are you planning on doing any speaking engagements? Or
I have not put that in the repertoire yet, but nothing's impossible. It is possible. I've given thought to going in the speaker circuit before. That's certainly a possibility now. But what I really would like to focus on is getting building the StarkRavingMadison brand. And then I could sort of expand to other things. Who knows where I wind up? Another publication. Making this even bigger. Being a public speaker, who knows, books, future's bright. It's wide open,
And I love the fact that you said you might be adding podcasts as well to StarkRavingMadison as well.
Yeah, knock on wood. I'm doing that homework right now.
Yeah, that will be good. Well, I love that. And then if people want to get in touch with you, they go to StarkRavingMadison.com. They can get in touch with you. And your favorite place where you hang out on social media?
Instagram right now. Actually, the best place to find me on social media is LinkedIn, just by my name.
Yeah, I love that. I love LinkedIn. That's one of my favorite places too. And so Instagram is really cool too as well. But want to make sure that people know that they can go to StarkRavingMadison to get all of your insights and things like that. It's really fun hearing about your background, how you started, where you ended up, where you're going. And I see really a lot of bright things for you. And then I gotta have you come back and talk about this whole AI thing. We touched on it in a little bit. But if we just wait a couple more months, we can come back and just say, you know what, this is really crazy. What have you learned? And what have you learned? It's like, it's changing everything. Some people are afraid of it, but I think we need to embrace it just like we did the internet back in early 2000s. It's one of those things.
Technology is always a bit scary, but, there's a time when, the telephone was scary technology,
That's true. That's true. So we just got to roll with it. That's one of the main things I tell people. I say, hey, it's going to be one of those things where, it's a learning curve, but it's going to be here. Just like you said, you're Googleable. It's like, is it a verb? Is it a noun? It's now a Googleable. Before people didn't think encyclopedias would ever go away.
What?
Who needs an encyclopedia when you got Google? So so it's a thing. It's the thing. So I got to have you come back and talk about that. And maybe I'll have you and some other people talk about how AI is really changing the media landscape, because I think that would be really, really interesting.
Yes, that would be great.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Get Out There, Get Known. Go to StarkRavingMadison so you could check out all of his stuff there. And then you're in Brooklyn right now, but hey, we're going to keep saying go Lions.
Go Lions. Go Lions. Right. Let me put the back on one more time.
There you go.
I love it.
We got to get a close up on it. There you go. And I will tell all the folks in Detroit, and I will actually share this in our Facebook group for Detroit NNBJ. Okay, so that everybody can see how you're doing and all that kind of stuff. But thank you so much, Madison, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a joy, and it's been a long time because I've been trying to track you down for the longest, and I know that you out there chasing them stories. So
we outside.
All right. Thanks for joining us. I'll talk to you later. God bless.
All right, thank you so much.
That was J. Madison Gray on Get Out There, Get Known. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this episode of Get Out There, Get Known. God bless.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com.